We are very excited and grateful to have Huda Alkaff and Dr. Saiyid Masroor Shah with us today. I'm going to give a short introduction of each of our guests, and you'll find a more complete biography for them in the description below. Huda Alkaff is an ecologist, environmental educator, and the founder and director of Wisconsin Green Muslims, a grassroots environmental justice group formed in 2005. For over 2 decades, they have been advocates for environmental justice, initiating Muslim and interfaith programs on energy and water conservation. Her higher education degrees are in conservation ecology, sustainable development, and science environmental education from the University of Georgia. She's received numerous recognitions and awards for her work in environmental justice. Dr. Saiyid Masroor Shah is chair of the Islamic Society of North America, known as ISNA, their Green Initiatives Team. By profession, a retired radiation physicist, Dr. Shah is a lifelong volunteer in ISNA and the Association of Muslim Scientists, Engineers, and Technology Professionals. He is currently a member of ISNA's Founders Committee, chairperson of the ISNA Green Initiative, and recipient of their 2020 Lifetime Achievement Award. Their teaching today is The Environmental Spirit of Islam. Huda and Dr. Shah, welcome, and thank you for being with us today.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for having us today. And as was mentioned, the Environmental Spirit of Islam, and I will invite Dr. Shah to take us into this journey here of learning.
Assalamu alaikum. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Thank you for inviting us to talk about the ISNA Green Initiative efforts. Today we are talking about the environmental spirit of Islam and how we implement through the ISNA Green Initiative team. Of course, there are more than 800 verses in Quran that speak directly or indirectly about the environment, and so are so many hadiths that speak about it. ISNA Green Initiative team is putting the core environmental tenets of Islam into practice, which include tawhid, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the sense that he is the one and there is no God but he. And Ayat, signs and proofs of the greatness of the Creator. Amana, which is upholding trust with the Creator. And it has a broader meaning in Islam and includes everything that Allah has entrusted and instructed to humans to take care of. And of course, we being the Khalifa, that is supposedly compassionate stewards. Mizan is also very important core of that, which is living in just balance with nature, which is the principle of the middle path and overreaching divine principle for organizing our universe. And Adl, which is justice in all its broad meanings. As a matter of fact, the stewardship is a collective responsibility to care for Mother Earth and each other across all faiths, nationalities, and ethnicities through the areas of advocacy, environmental justice, and personal lifestyle choices and consumptions. The ISNA Green Initiative team is consists of myself, and excluding me, all the other members are the most dedicated environmentalists, which include Sister Huda, Sister Nana, Brother Safet Kachovic, and Uzma Mirza. Now, as I have mentioned, we have a special responsibility to take care of our environment, and then we need to have some actions. In this regard, ISNA in 2004, established through ISNA Masjid Committee, a task group, which was called at that time a Green Masjid Force. And the purpose was to create awareness and to provide guidance to make our masajid environmentally friendly and our practices sustainable, and also to educate and persuade the Muslims to follow the rules which Islam has asked them to do in terms of the environment. The programs which was started initially was in 2015, the greening our Ramadan. This is a campaign launched nationally, and then it continues every year from then on. It has two meanings. One of them is to educate the people that what they can do. And there are certain simple steps where they can avoid wastage, they can have conservation and so on in their personal life as well as in the masajid. As we know that in the masajid, in Ramadan, there is a huge amount of wastage during the social gatherings. And that's one thing which we have been pointing out, and alhamdulillah, many of the people have adopted some of our promotions. For example, many of them now do not have any more the water bottles in their masajid during Ramadan, which is a reduction of environmental wastage. The other step which we started initially was the Green Masajid project. This is a booklet which is available on ISNA website that was released during the 52nd annual ISNA convention in 2015. In that booklet, we have given simple steps. One of them is that how you can save energy, how you can save waste, reduce wastage, how you can recycle and so forth. Along that, giving few verses of the Quran and Hadith to see the importance and significance of that. Next slide, please. Sister Huda, next slide. Well, of course, as we said before, that we, as the caretakers, we call the Khalifa. As human beings, we need to take our responsibility, and the Green Ramadan project is part of that, taking a responsibility. And in that, Allah has given us many of these verses in the Quran which tells us that how you can warns us about our responsibilities. And then just like he has in the Quran, he has warned us that it is he who has appointed us the guardian in the earth, and he has raised some of you in the ranks above others, that now you in what he has given you. Surely your Lord is reckoning, and surely he's all forgiving and all compassionate. Of course, there is another hadith, which is there is a hadith which given by Prophet ﷺ that the earth is green and beautiful, and Allah has appointed you his stewards over it. So this is, I'm not going in the details of these things because most of you are more knowledgeable in Islam than I am. But at the same time, just a reminder to myself and to ourselves that Allah has given us over and over this emphasis that we, as a guardian of this earth, we are responsible to take care of it. And then for taking care of that means we have to do certain things, that our environment is is improved, as we know that the climate change has shown us that how much we have gone away from keeping the environment safe and secure. So these are just the short reminders for us that we, as the caretakers, we have a responsibility. And being a Muslim, we have to do our share as responsible persons. Next slide, please. The other aspect of our responsibilities as a Mizan, that is just living in the balanced life with nature. And that means that we have the principle of the middle path and the overarching divine principle of organizing our universe. And Allah has given us in Quran many times this about that. And one of them is the All-Merciful has taught the Quran. He created man. And I'm having a problem in reading because just let me see if I can move this away from here. I imagine you can read that. I'm having a problem reading the translation here on the screen. But this is, the verses which show us that we need to have a balance in whatever we do. And in terms of the reminder for us, the sun and the moon are a evidence of, and the stars and trees that prostrate to and the heaven to him. And then he has asked us to do the balance that we may not exceed that. Can we, next slide, please? This here we see the two pictures. One of them shows about the Green Masjid project. This is the booklet which is available on the website. It's not website. And this gives us, as I had mentioned before, that gives some basic steps how we can make our masajid as environmental friendly. The next one which you see is the Energy Star Action Workbook. ISNA Green Initiative has worked for quite much time with the Environmental Protection Agency to develop a handbook or workbook for the Muslim communities to make their masajid and the schools and to be Energy Star. In other words, what Energy Star program of the EPA is that it scores the energy consumption of not only the masajid and congregations, but of all the faiths, but also of the buildings, industrial buildings, and so forth in general. So ISNA Green Initiative has worked with EPA to develop this guide and a workbook so that we can promote the energy conservation among the masajid and the other Islamic institutions. This is an excellent book, and it is specifically tailored to the needs of the Muslims. It's not a general workbook for every other faith, but it is specifically for the Muslim communities. And this it can be downloaded either through the EPA or from the ISNA website. Now, this is a program which ISNA Green Initiative would like to promote as much as possible so that the masajid can become energy efficient and reduce the carbon footprint. As a matter of fact, I can say that just a few weeks ago, the Islamic Center of Evansville, which I belong to, is the first Islamic center or masjid which have been certified by the EPA to be Energy Star place of worship. And we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it made us to do that. And through that, now we can say to the others that, look here, there is an example, and how we can guide to the people to make their masajid as environmental friendly as possible through energy conservation. Next slide, please. Next slide, Sister Huda. Well, that, Allah has asked us, that has made this as a home for us, and that as the verses say, that he made for you the earth a place of settlement, and a sealing, and farmed you and perfected you farms, and has provided with the sustenance of things pure and good. That is Allah, your Lord. Blessed is Allah, Lord of the worlds. Now here we not only thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for providing all of these things, but also through this we conclude that Allah is asking us not only do the gratitude, but do some practical steps. And that steps means that we change our lifestyle so that it is environmental friendly. We do less waste, we recycle, we use less resources, we reduce our carbon print. And there are simple steps to do that. And those steps, if we adopt, they help the environment tremendously, but at the same time, they are our service to the humanity as being Muslims. For example, just if we stop drinking the bottled water, then just doing that, there is a tremendous saving of the fossil fuel production. Similarly, if we stop doing the wastage in our daily use, that will be a help sustaining the environment. Next slide, please. I would like to thank you all for listening. And of course, after Sister Huda's presentation, you are welcome to ask any questions and we will be glad to answer. You can have all the information can be obtained at the ISNA website. This is a reference here. Thank you again. Jazakallah khair. Sister Huda, take over.
All right. Jazakumullah khair. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay. So I'm going to be talking about environmental justice and what is environmental justice in Islam. So environmental social justice process includes community organizing, listening sessions, meeting with decision makers, community meetings, letters and calls, testimonies, rallies, social media and publications, etc. This map is an attempt to show the ancestral and unceded traditional territories of the indigenous people in this country. This is an indigenous land acknowledgement. In Wisconsin, where I am, I acknowledge that we are on traditional Potawatomi, Ho-Chunk, and Menominee homeland along the southwest shores of Michigami, North America's largest system of freshwater lakes, where the Milwaukee, Menominee, and Kinnickinnick rivers meet, and the people of Wisconsin, Steuben and Anishinaabe, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, Oneida, and Mohican nations remain present. I acknowledge this not only in thanks to the indigenous communities who have held relationship with this land and water for generations, but also in recognition of the historical and ongoing legacy of colonialism and occupation. I acknowledge this as a point of reflection for us all as we work towards dismantling occupation and colonial practices. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is reported to have said, if doomsday is about to take place, while any one of us has a tree sapling in our hand, which we can cultivate, then cultivate it, for we will be rewarded. This is an action, this is an active hope message that inspires me. And consider my tree sapling is Wisconsin Green Muslims, the group that I formed in 2005, connecting faith, environmental justice, sustainability, and healing through education and service. Our work with Wisconsin Green Muslims has been, the model that worked for us is the open circle model, which is to designate a theme for each month, focus on it with participants from different Islamic centers, formal and informal Islamic schools and institutions, quantify the results and celebrate the outcomes, then move to a new theme in the next month. This diverse approach enables us to connect with a variety of people, constituents, who join our open circle at the point of entry that matches their interest, whether it is water equity with lead issues that affect vulnerable population, community vegetable gardens with families participating in intergenerational exchange of knowledge that takes place, solar energy and energy efficiency with engineers and facility managers coming into the fold, friendly recycling competitions with robust youth participation, or transit equity issues with seniors, students, and people of disability concerned about transportation access and affordability. Green Ramadan started with us in 2005 and went nationally. For us, December is Environmental Justice Month. Environmental justice is a human rights issue as we celebrate the Human Rights Day that's coming up on December 10. Though often used interchangeably, equality and equity are quite different. If fairness is the goal, equality and equity are two processes through which we can achieve it. Equality simply means everyone is treated the same exact way, regardless of need or any other individual difference. Equality is on the left side here on the screen. Equity, on the other hand, means everyone is provided with what they need to succeed. Creating environmental equity is the objective of the environmental justice movement. Environmental equity means protection from environmental hazards, as well as access to environmental benefits, regardless of income, race, and other characteristics. Climate change can disproportionately affect low-income, low-wealth communities who are least responsible for climate change. This inequity is being or can be ameliorated through evidence-based policies and programs that achieve both mitigation and adaptation goals, and that concentrate real climate solutions and investments in disadvantaged communities. Climate change affects everyone, but communities of color are disproportionately impacted. Those disparities are often not adequately addressed, and many people in low wealth and minority populations lack the resources and clout necessary to bring about change in laws and government policies. I'm going to talk about the environmental justice movement that has defined the environment as the places where we live, work, play, pray, and go to school. We speak for ourselves, and nothing about us without us became and is the motto of the movement in challenging environmental and all forms of structural racism. American Muslims are a minority faith group that experiences Islamophobia, discrimination, and structural racism. And as such, their voices must also be heard. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the launching of the environmental justice movement at the first National People of Color Environmental Leadership Summit, held on October 24 to 27, 1991 in Washington, D.C., with around 1,100 people in attendance, mostly people of color from all 50 states, as well as Puerto Rico, Chile, Mexico, and the Marshall Islands. That summit has been described as one of the most important events in the history of the environmental justice movement. And I'm so happy to be really honoring this occasion this year. One of these principles that were approved and agreed upon in this summit, one of the 17 principles of environmental justice, states that environmental justice demands the right to participate as equal partners at every level of decision-making, including needs assessment, planning, implementation, enforcement, and evaluation. In December 1996, the Hamas Principles for Democratic Organizing meeting hosted by the Southwest Network for Environmental and Economic Justice took place in Hamas, New Mexico, where the Hamas principles were agreed upon within the environmental justice movement. Those principles are: be inclusive, emphasis on bottom-up organizing, let people speak for themselves, work together in solidarity and mutuality, build just relationships among ourselves, and commitment to self-transformation. Basic principles of environmental justice that guide our work, Wisconsin Green Muslims, in addition to the previous principles that were mentioned, are to ensure public involvement of economically disadvantaged and minority groups in decision-making, prevent disproportionately high and adverse impacts of decisions on economically disadvantaged and minority groups, and assure economically disadvantaged and minority groups receive proportionate share of benefits. This is how we can build sustainable communities that has healthy environment, equitable society, and vibrant economy. In the Quran, chapter 55, verses 7 to 10, and God has set up the balance of justice in order that you may not transgress due balance. So establish weight with justice and fall not short in the balance. It is God who has spread out the earth for all God's creatures. And in the Quran, chapter 3, verse 8, these are the signs of God. We rehearse them to thee in truth, and God means no injustice to any of God's creatures. We do wanna pray for environmental justice for all. This is our task. This is our responsibility as Muslims. And we need to work for environmental justice for all. Thank you. Jazakumullah khair. And we welcome your feedback and your questions. And again, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you, Sister Huda, and thank you, Dr. Shah, for your very thoughtful presentation. I'd like to open the floor up now for questions for our guests. Anybody that has a question, you can simply unmute yourself. And if you have a question while somebody else is speaking, if you want to raise your hand, I'll call on people in order. Rahima?
So thank you so much, Huda and Saiyid Shah. I really appreciated your presentation. Could you talk a little bit about how the ISNA Green Initiative works with groups like Interfaith Power and Light or Green Faith or other national religious collectives?
Yes, ISNA Green Initiative has been working with many interfaith groups. For example, with IPL, we have a joint program in the October, and same is with the Green Faith. We have several programs which we have sponsored together, and we are doing that. And as well as we are open to any other interfaith group which wants to cooperate with. As long as we have a common purpose, there is no problem and no issue for us not to cooperate. The only part is that we do not want to be aligned with one or the other group in the exclusion of the other ones. So our policy is that we will cooperate and work together with everyone, except we will not be aligning in the exclusion of others. So that's our only condition for that one. However, we welcome any group which want to do any joint project with us. We will be glad to do that. And with, as a matter of fact, Sister Huda was also a past director of the Wisconsin HPL, and I am former director of the Indiana PL. So we are involved, and now my place is taken by in the Indiana which we call HIPL, who's here is that Sister Uzma, who is also the member, one of the founding members of the group. Now she has taken my place there. So we are actively involved. Green Faith, we have done recently extensively on their relation with the COP26, their efforts. So we were part of that.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, thank you.
Any other question?
I will add, I mean, yeah, in addition to Interfaith Power Lights and Green Faith, I mean, we also, Wisconsin Green Muslims leads interfaith work in Wisconsin. So we do, like I showed in the open circle, we have Interfaith Earth Month in April, where we gather in interfaith activities. We do interfaith poster activity for K-12, where many communities of faith participate in with posters, different themes around water, or around food, or around other issues, and we rotate. And Wisconsin Green Muslims also leads the Faith and Solar Initiative in Wisconsin, where we really celebrate the message of the light, the sun, and how the unifying power of the sun can bring people together to benefit from the sacred gift and sacred trust of the sun and the light, and to bring it into our lives and congregations and homes with much appreciation of this gift, sacred gift and sacred trust. So we lead this effort, and we coordinate it with over 18 different faith traditions and spiritualities in Wisconsin. So very active in interfaith circles. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, thank you. Is there a comparable organization in Minnesota to the Wisconsin Green Muslims?
Not that I know of, but I know of like Minnesota Interfaith Power Light. They've been collaborating with us. We did through the Midwest. There is a Midwest Climate Network where we collaborate with many states around, and we had like an action team about faith and solar together, like how it's happening in the Midwest. So we collaborated with Minnesota Interfaith Power Lights, Iowa Interfaith Power Lights, Faith in Place, which is Interfaith Power Light, Michigan Interfaith Power Light. So we had, at Wisconsin, of course, the Green Muslims was there, a partner. So we do collaborate around in the region, in the Midwest, in interfaith setting as well. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. I'll stop for now, and then I have more after the next people.
Thanks, Rahima. Anybody else that has a question, please unmute yourself and speak if you would like. And maybe while we're waiting for our next questioner, I have a question. Sister Huda and Dr. Shah, how would you characterize the consciousness of environmental justice, the seriousness of climate change within the broader Muslim community today? I'd be interested in if you notice any distinction in that awareness between, say, North American Muslims and those in other parts of the world, and how has that changed over the years that the two of you have been working in this field?
Well, I think my answer may not be accurate, but at the same time, this is something I think that among the Muslims, unfortunately, the consciousness of the environment and environmental issues is not as much as it should be. This is something which we have been pointing to our communities, that the consciousness and the seriousness of the climate change needs to be addressed among Muslims more than anybody else, for the reason that if you look on the world map, the red states are those ones which have the majority of Muslims. But in those countries, if you go there, you see very little of that one. Now, in North America, there is a growing consciousness, but at the same time, it's much less than we would like to have among the Muslims. Our communities we had a survey a few years ago, and in that survey, practically everybody was saying that very positive things about their consciousness and their actions about the environment. But when you go to the practical side, we do not see that kind of action among the masajid. Most of the masajid are not energy friendly. Most of the masajid do not care about taking care of the waste, are having this, taking steps for reducing the carbon footprint. Unfortunately, if I go to any mosque, I see all the time styrofoam is used. The water bottles are commonly used, so much so that people think, and I can tell you from my own experience, when we stop allowing people to bring the water bottles, some people were arguing with us that you are making them not to have the sawab of bringing the water. And when I pointed out to them that, look here, you are bringing the water, but at the same time, you are bringing this fossil fuel product, which is the more harm to the environment, and it's much more severe than you're attaining the sawab with water. While we have all the water available in the Islamic Center, we have all the resources, then we don't need your water. But at the same time, people are angry about that. So that's the attitude about that one. I mean, Sister Huda can add more than to that.
Sister, did you have anything you'd like to add?
I wanted to, since Dr. Shah mentioned, and I'm trying to find the screen. I'm just going to share the survey that was done. This was done with Eco America. They held an online survey for Muslims in the United States around climate change. It was in 2018. And so this was the results. And I mean, it was great to see those results. So like in awareness, climate change is happening due to human and natural activity. We had 98% were aware. I'm concerned about climate change, 93%. the effects of climate change, 54% increased rates of breathing problems like asthma affect me. 65% increased hardship for poor families affect me. So there is recognition about the effects of climate change, awareness about climate change, the human impacts of climate change, and then impact of how to prevent climate change. So preventing climate change helps the economy, 77%, improves my health. When I prevent climate change, 88%, increases jobs, 71%. Solutions, 94% said we should tax carbon pollution. 97% said the US should produce more wind and solar. So the attitude is there. Then religion and climate change. Religion compels me to address climate change because we must care for God's creation, 97%. Climate change impacts the most vulnerable, children and the elderly, 93%. And then the behavior here comes where there's more work needs to be done, which is when contacting elected officials, only 55% do that. And then community action, many said we need to do that. We need Islamic schools should teach children about climate change. It was huge. And then many said we need to act now to reduce the pollution that is causing climate change. That was 97%. So there is an attitude, and readiness to action. We just need to really translate it into action, I think. And then globally, I would say like Muslim communities are the most impacted by climate change. Like, look, who is impacted by flooding, by heat, by drought, by displacement due to climate change, by, you name it, disasters, storms. I mean, Muslim communities are the most impacted. So that is personal. Like we know about impact on many coastal communities and inland communities due to droughts, coastal communities due to the tsunamis and storms that are getting stronger because of due to climate change impacts. So so they do recognize the impact of climate change. They are impacted, and they're going to be impacted a lot in the future. So it's really, we need just to drive that message to connect those issues together.
Thank you, sister. Any other questions? Just speak up, unmute yourself. If you're on a phone, it's *6 to unmute. And no one else is stepping forward right now. So Rahima, if you have another question, feel free.
I do. So we're, as a Sufi community, we're a community that looks at inner transformation more and at the inner, unfortunately, more than at the outer. And so as a community, individuals are all over the place, but that is sort of our community stance. So there were two things that particularly struck me in your talk, and I'd just like to go back and talk about them a little bit. One is where you said there's the hadith is, and I didn't quite get this down, but if doomsday is at hand and you cultivate a green sapling, Allah will consider that a good thing. Did I get the sense of that right?
Yeah, pretty much. We are encouraged to do everything in our capacity, no matter what, no matter what that is. Like, you don't consider, oh, will my action have an impact in the future? That's in Allah's hands. That's not your role. Your role is to do what's in your capacity with the good intention in your heart, with the good prayer in your heart, in your deed, that for Allah to accept this, and for this good deed to be of benefit. As long as you have all this component, just do it. And even if it's doomsday, you have to do it because you'll be rewarded. So it's the active hope message which really inspires me. It's like whenever I'm down or I'm I'm upset or disappointed or whatever, it's that inspiration is that, yeah, whatever I do in my capacity, that's being rewarded, and I need that reward. So it keeps you going, it keeps you doing it. And there's rewards for planting trees, which animals feed on them, and the air that others breathe because of your action. All that is multiplied, and it's huge, like the impact that it goes towards the air, the water, the all the inhabitants, because of your actions. So why do you deprive yourself of that reward? You have to do that. So it's really really encompassing.
So Sister Huda, I will come back to you.
If I'd like to add that little bit, is that, say, if we take just a couple of hadiths from Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and how powerful they are, that when it is told that even if it's the time of the end of the world is coming, and if you have a shoot in your hand, plant it. So how strong it will be, a emphasis on having for the environment, that you do not, you should plant the trees. That means you save the environment. Same is, if we see that he says, if you are near the water or the flowing river, then don't waste the water. Now, in practice, what we do, just take the case of the wudu. How we do wudu. If we look generally, or if you go to the mosque and see how the people are doing the wudu, how much water we are wasting. It's a huge amount of water wasted, while we are having a severe problem with the water. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is that Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as well as the Quran, has emphasized us to take care of the environment and to take care of our surroundings and everything else. But with the simple, these are the simple steps. It does not take, a huge amount of efforts, but still we don't do that.
Well, thank you, because I think what you're speaking to is one of the other points that was on a slide of Sister Huda. And that was number 6 on the Hamas principles: commit to self-transformation. And to make what you're describing, Brother Saiyid, a habit, to make that care for the planet a habit in every moment. That is an act of self-transformation and turning to Allah. And I think sometimes we don't pay attention to that. So that's what I hear you saying, as even in wudu, we should be paying attention. I spent 30 years in Arizona, and water is very precious to me. And so I hear what you say deeply. And I really appreciate your drawing attention to this in the Quran and the Hadith for us, because as Sufis, we tend to come at other parts of the Quran a bit more. And I think this is just music to my environmentalist ears. So thank you. So I have a question for Abdullah Pat. Is there any room through your connections in the Minnesota Muslim community for us to help link the ISNA Green Initiative into Minnesota?
I think yes. I think, we could definitely facilitate establishing some conversations with some of the leaders in the Muslim community here. And I'd be happy to help facilitate that.
Could we call on you, Sister Huda or Brother Saeed?
Yeah, you have both our contacts, so please,
Okay.
please do.
Okay, so maybe we can build out this green Muslim movement a bit by getting
Yeah,
Minnesota
we
a
will
bit more
appreciate
engaged.
any cooperation from any to promote the environmental, sustainability, and which is very critical for us. As you said about Arizona, I just was recently in Pakistan, and the water level has gone so low there, but the waste of the water continues there. So this is something, as much as we can make people aware, we may not be able to change their habits, but if we can make them aware the problems and the issues, that will be a great step. And any group in Minnesota would like anything to do, we would be glad to help them promote or start and initiate any program.
Okay. Well, we have a national community, and some of the people on this call are part of a national class to build the leadership across the country in our Sufi community. And I'm thinking that through this national group, this might also be a way to connect in with all of you, because in an individual state, we're very small. We might only have 50 or 75 people, but across the country, we probably have 1,000. And so maybe we can do something at the national level to connect our Sufi community. I know we have other environmental activists spread around the country, so perhaps we can look a little more organized. And Sister Huda, I will be back to you about how I've noted down all the verses of the Quran, but I'll be back to you about some of these hadith, because I think our eyes tend to be turned to other parts of the Quran, and my eyes want to be turned to this part. So alhamdulillah, thank you.
As a matter of fact, we have many small groups around the country, Muslim groups who are environmental conscious, and they are working to promote environment in those areas. We have a practice that anytime we find a new group, we contact them and offer them any cooperation which they would like to have. So we are, our purpose is that people in their own areas, they can promote the consciousness and do certain activities which will make people to change their habits about that. It's a welcome thing, and we may not, just like we have this small group which has been working since 2014 as a volunteer. We are all volunteer group working as a ISNA committee, and we our whole effort is with our limited resources. Wherever we can plant a tree, we would love to do that. So any group starts something, that will be wonderful for us.
And one of us on the call here, as you can see on your screen, is from Belgium. Naima Rahima, do you need any connections with the Muslims of Belgium for this? If so, reach out. That's all. You don't have to commit it here late at night there, but that's fine. Thank you for being here.
No, we have no contact. I think we have some contact, very minimal contact with the people in Britain. And of course, through one of our member, Sister Nana, we have fairly good contact in Indonesia.
Oh, okay. And that's where the climate change and sea level rise is just.
Yes. And she's a dedicated worker of the environment.
Okay.
So I would like, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, please, go ahead.
No, I mean, I would like to also mention, yeah, I mean, in addition to the work like that we do, we also reflect a lot in what is in the Quran, and like the titles of many of the chapters in the Quran, like you have the plants and animals, the day, the night, the fig, the elephant, the moon, the star, the sun, I mean, all these titles, the ant, the bees, the spider, the cow. I mean, it all tells us like lots of stories and lots of lessons about connections to the earth and to the gifts around us. So we do reflect a lot on all these messages as well. And that's part of connecting. Like you start with the heart and you talk to the heart, and then you move to the head and then you come back to the heart again, because that's what your gut feeling after you've learned and okay, what your gut feeling is telling you now to do. So that's what we do. Is like you start with the heart, because those are the messages, like those are the gifts. And then, okay, they move to the information and facts, and then back again to the gut feeling. And now it's the time what you can do. I mean, a lot. So start somewhere.
Sister Huda, I can assure you that I will be in touch. Because if we could start a Quran study here that focused on this, it would be quite beautiful, because I think we have many people who care about the environment across our country. But you know, we're converts. We're not so knowledgeable about the Quran, and trying to learn, but not necessarily learning from this perspective. So I really open myself to your help and to your understanding of the Quran, so that we can bring that part of it back and deepen our own walking. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Thank you. Whew. I'm good.
Thank you, Rahima. So we're almost at time. If there's anybody else who would like to make a comment or ask a question, the time is now. And if not, because I'm not seeing or hearing anybody, I will ask Sister Huda and Dr. Shah if you have any final remarks you would like to make to us before we conclude today.
Well, we thank you for the opportunity to expose the ISNA Green Initiative program to your group, and hopefully we will have some cooperative efforts in the future about that. Sister Huda can add.
Yeah, Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much for this connection. It's very blessed opportunity, and yeah, let's move together. It's I welcome you into the open circle that we have, and it's a beautiful circle with you.
And we are very appreciative for both of you for making this offering to us today. And inshallah, it'll lead to a more productive and rich relationship for all of us moving forward in the future. So thank you very much.
And I just wanted to add that because this will be up on our national YouTube channel, we'll be able to point other members of our community to it. So this won't be the last time that anybody sees this. I think there will be more viewings of this one. So thank you so much. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much.